by the release of World of Warcraft's second expansion, Wrath of the Lich King. The quest designers and storytellers over at Blizzard Entertainment had long since found their footing in the long-form storytelling that the game would become known for. Many would argue that Wrath was the height of their writing ability, and it's easy to see why. Each of the new zones in Northrend had compelling stories that could span dozens of quests, turning areas that might seem dull on initial observation into sprawling epics. This was the case with the Borean Tundra, one of the first areas that players would set foot on in their new adventure, and Alliance players would quickly find that not all is what it seems in this new land. A conspiracy has taken root amongst their leadership, and it was up to you to get to the bottom of the cult in the Borean Tundra. But before we get to that, I'd like to say thank you and a long overdue welcome to all of the new viewers who have shown so much love to these videos. Sincerely, it's people like you that make me want to keep doing this. And thank you for your patience, as it takes me so much time to actually get one of these videos made. So if you like what you see, please consider subscribing and liking the video to please the algorithm old gods of YouTube. Again, thank you. Whispers have reached my ears from the north that the Alliance is having trouble gaining a foothold on the frigid Northrend for their war against the Lich King. Honestly, I'd put off my journey there. As a paladin, I was haunted by the tall tales of Arthas Menethil, himself a member of the order I follow, and how he fell to dark voices in this land. But I can ignore the pleas no longer. I have been called, and I must answer. From Stormwind I pay for passage to the Borean Tundra. Even with my adventures in the Outland, this place seems almost alien. Floating isles far off in the distance, and a horde city looming over the landscape. But the familiar architecture of a lighthouse, a farming village, and a mighty keep under construction earn a smile from my face. I bid the crew of the ship safe travels and depart, exploring this incomplete Valiant's keep, looking for the right man to talk to. I come across a line of civilians waiting to sign up to defend this land. I have to say, it heartens my resolve to see so many willing to fight for their people, though I do wish the queue was a bit shorter. However, my eye is caught by the recruitment officer who beckons me up to the table. He introduces himself as another recruit, a brave farmhand finishes his paperwork and is given a sword, shield, and bunk in the barracks. This is Blythe, and he says,
"You've come to enlist, right? Normally, you'd have to stand in line like the other recruits. Normally, you'd be out of luck because the recruitment ledger's gone missing, and I can't process anyone until the new books come. Fortunately for you, I've heard about you and what you did in the Outland. To be honest, you're a cut above these poor saps. Lines aren't for you. Go to the barracks and speak to General Arlos. He'll be more than happy to meet with someone of your caliber."
Well, the flattery is nice, and though I would have been willing to wait in line, and despite vocal protests from those waiting their turn, I nod to the officer and head for the keep, crossing the boat docked in the harbor and up to the building. It's impressive that it still stands, mostly complete, when I can hear a battle raging just outside. They've done well here, holding their ground. I head up several flights of stairs into the keep's main office, where I find General Arlos and Councillor Talbot speaking with a small platoon of Draenei paladins, headed up by Harbinger Varin. I hear,
"Give the word, General. I will have 2 regiments at your disposal in a month's time."
Our troops consist mostly of villagers and peasants. Good men, but not quite rid of their prejudices and superstitions of their upbringing. They're not ready to fight alongside our more exotic allies.
"Your offer will be carefully considered, Harbinger. In the meantime, we will make use of your delegation in an advisory role." "Very well, General. Should you change your mind, my people will be more than willing to provide military assistance."
As their conversation concludes, the general summons me and says,
We've been expecting your arrival. Welcome to Northrend. It's good to have you among us. We've all heard of your past deeds. As you know, King Rin is moving great armies into Northrend to meet those of Arthas. But armies are nothing without true heroes to inspire and lead them. I want you to be the hero for my men. Fight alongside them against the scourge that lays siege to our stronghold. Report to Sergeant Hammerhill outside the inner hold. Valiant's keep cannot fall. The future of our campaign depends on it.
I salute the general and do as ordered, finding Sergeant Hammerhill atop his ram just inside the city gates. He gives me a nod and says,
"By Magni's beard, looks like the heavy artillery's arriving. It's good to see Arlos bringing out the big guns. Don't get me wrong, our lads are doing the best they can, but someone of your renown fighting alongside them can really turn the tides for us. Not sure how much longer we can hold out against these undead Nerubians. What do you say you get out there and kill me some creepers? Show these boys how it's done.
I already see the battle raging outside the city gates. Insectoid Nerubians crawling towards our entrenched lines and men valiantly fighting them back. They're losing. I nod to the sergeant and head out of the gate, into the field, hopping the barricade and bringing my blade upon the necrotic heads of our enemies. Even the largest beasts does not stay my hand. It's long work, hard work, but I get it done, sending enough of the creatures back beyond the grave that our boys have a fighting chance. When I feel that I've done what I can for the hour, I march back towards the keep, only to notice one of our men treating a wounded soldier. The injury looks bad, infected and serious. The medic introduces himself to me as Hawthorne, calling me over.
You there, please. I need your help. This soldier will succumb to the Crypt Fiend's venom unless we act immediately. I've managed to slow down the poison, but without a stable supply of antidote, I cannot counteract it. I was promised a new shipment of anti-venom in the Stormbreaker's most recent trip from the south. Go inside its hold and search for a chest of first aid supplies. Hurry, we cannot afford to lose any more men unnecessarily.
You can say that again. We need every body we can get in the coming war against the Lich King. I make haste back within the keep, rushing aboard the Stormbreaker, docked in the harbor. It's one of our new mechanized ships, a feat of combined engineering of man, dwarf, and gnome. Asking about the shipment of anti-venom, one of the sailors points me below deck, and I descend to discover something incredibly concerning. Armored men have taken the lower decks, standing vigil not only over its shipment, but also worshipping some unholy altar of stone and bone. I recognize this ilk as cultists, and in this war, that spells only horrible news. My eyes meet those of the cultists standing guard over the ceremony, and we know this will end in only one way. A minute later, I clean the blood from my greatsword and examine the effigy that they worshipped. This altar bears all the markings of the cult of the damned. It appears fanatics from the mainland have made it to Northrend. It might be prudent to notify the captain of the ship. Perhaps he is to be found above deck. I also make note of the anti-venom sitting in a chest in the corner, ordering a deckhand to bring it to Medic Hawthorne out on the battlefield. My attention is needed elsewhere, and I'm sure Hawthorne will understand that I don't see to it personally. I seek out the Stormbreaker's captain, one lefty lug sail, fist clenched and ready to draw my blade in an instant. He's speaking to another naval commander, though I do not recognize her. I approach and explain what I found on his ship. The captain says,
Cultists? Below deck? I ought to have my whole crew flogged. Listen, why don't we have Admiral Canterbury take care of this situation?
The woman Captain Lugsail was speaking to stands a little taller, flashing me a serious expression. Admiral Canterbury, I presume. She says,
We must notify General Alos at once. I've known the captain for a long time, and believe me, he is one of the more careful ones. Who knows how many cultists have been smuggled into our settlements in Northrend in other ships? This could be disastrous.
I take the Admiral at her word, shooting Lugsail a final warning glare before saluting them both and heading back to the keep. Canterbury is right. General Arlos must be informed. This could spell disaster not only for Valiant's keep, but the entire campaign against the Lich King. Once inside, Arlos seems a bit surprised to see me again so quickly, but his expression softens as I explain the situation to him.
Thank you for your concern. We were made aware of this situation not too long ago. Counselor Talbot assures me that this was an isolated incident and not cause for military concern. Our civilian authorities will make sure everyone involved is properly prosecuted.
Over the general's shoulder, I see his assistant Counselor Talbot share a gentle smile. He calls me over and, in a soft voice, says,
I see that you are very eager to help, hero. You didn't come all the way to Northrend to stay holed up in a city. I've just the task for you. Something that will take you far away from here. We've long sought to gain the favor of the Tuskar native to Northrend. Recently, a young Tuskar came to us seeking help, something we couldn't offer at the time. Now that you're around, maybe we can lend him a hand. Look for Karuk near the Riplash Strand, southwest of here, and see what you can do to help.
Okay. This man sends shivers down my spine, and I cannot exactly place why. Not that his task is an unworthy one, I will find time to aid this young Karuk when I am able, but this does not sit right with me, and apparently I am not the only one. As I move to leave, Harbinger Vereen, the Draenei paladin that was in audience with Arlos when I first arrived, signals to me. Voice almost a whisper. He says,
"Not so fast there. I don't know about you, but I was hardly convinced by the general's words. They rang unsure, as if they were not his own. Something is amiss here. All of our efforts to collaborate have been blocked and delayed. It is time we took a more independent approach. If we're to learn more about the cultists inside the keep, perhaps we should investigate those outside. Intelligence reports a group of them aiding the Scourge north of here. See if they carry any clues."
I nod, and Vereen pats me on the back, acting as if I were a friend that he had not seen in many years. Surely it covers so that Talbot, standing just a short distance away from us, did not grow suspicious. On the Harbinger's suggestion, I head again north from the keep through the continuing battle, and discover several cultists on the ridge overlooking Valiance. They're performing some dark ritual, so distracted by it that they do not see me approach. So I make sure they cannot complete their unholy magics, making quick work of all four of them. Rifling through their corpses, I discover a communique, stained with the blood of its holder. The words contained within are in a dark and incomprehensible language. I cannot decipher it, it's beyond my ability. So I head back to Vereen, hoping he may have some better luck. But before I can produce the document, he whispers,
"You're back. Be discreet. We cannot look at this evidence in front of prying eyes. I'm afraid this is a matter I must delegate to one of my operatives. Someone who can work in secret. Keep the evidence with you and take it to Vindicator Yala inside the inn. Tell her I sent you and speak of this matter to no one else. We do not know who may be working for the cult."
The task is simple enough and makes for a great excuse for a flagon of ale, sliding the innkeeper a gold coin as a tip for the drink when he points me Yala's way. She's upstairs, minding her business on a balcony overlooking the kitchen, eyeing the chef down below with some suspicion. Without even looking at me, she says,
Harbinger Vereen sent you. Speak quickly. What information do you have on the cult? I've made it my business to learn as much as possible about the vile death cult, including their secret language. Vereen was right. The cultists mentioned disguised operatives in Valiant's Keep. The lower docks, the jail inside the inner hold, and in the inn's kitchen. Take the Oculus. Use it at those 3 locations. Anyone that has recently used the cult's necromancy will be enshrouded by a dark aura. Take care of the cultists before something nefarious happens.
I glance past Yala, down to the man she's observing below. The chef, Salty John Thorpe, I've heard him called. He's cleaving away at some meat, adept with the blade in his hand. Cautiously, I head downstairs and approach the man, viewing him through Yala's Oculus. Indeed, dark energy ripples from him. Taking a deep breath, I hail the man, and he says flatly,
"Just another day work in the kitchen. Sure gets dull after a while."
"I have reason to believe you're involved in cultist activity."
"Well, I suppose this is it then. I won't go down quietly."
Suddenly, the man swings at me, but I'm able to dodge his strike. With a single swift, fluid motion, I bisect Thorpe with my greatsword, his blood splattering across his workspace. I apologize to the innkeeper about the mess and walk out to the docks, following the lead for Yala's next mark. Again, peering through her Oculus, I spot a man wandering the docks. One Tom Hegger. I approach and hail him, and he says cheerily,
"Some of us get to avoid military duty. A good fisherman's always handy. Even generals need to eat."
"What do you know about the cult of the damned?" I ask, drawing my blade. He eyes it, looking me up and down and swallowing hard, and then screams,
"You don't know what you're messing with. Death beckons."
He stands no chance against me, taking a swing at my head with his fist. I remove the appendage and then run Hagger through. Blood spills from the corners of his mouth as he looks at me, gaze full of hatred as the light leaves his eyes. With just one more target, I head down to the keep's dungeon, wondering if the guard had captured one of the cultists. However, though a man is being held under watch, as I peer through the Oculus, darkness does not waft from him. Instead, one of the guards, Mitchell's, is consumed by it. Just like the others, I cautiously approach. He eyes me curiously, no doubt wondering why I'm down here, and he says,
My shift's almost over. Can't wait to catch some shut-eye, know what I mean?
"How long have you worked for the Cult of the Damned?" I ask. His brow climbs in surprise, as his fellow guards inhale sharply at the accusation, but surprise turns to glee as a wicked smile carves itself onto Mitchell's face.
Finally, the charade's over. Arthas, give me strength!
He draws his blade and moves to strike, though I'm able to parry. It slides harmlessly from my armor, as my own blade finds a gap between his breastplate, entering his ribs. He dies, falling to the floor. I nod to the other guards, who hold their swords in confusion, but they know Mitchell's was guilty. After all, he drew his blade first. My task complete, I return to Yala. She's looking over the now vacant kitchen. A streak of blood now leads out from it, from where Thorpe's corpse was dragged away.
You've done well. However, I can't shake the feeling that this is not the last we've seen of these death cultists. Darkness has a way of hiding even in plain sight.
I offered more help, but Yala said I'd done more than my share. I nodded to her and walked out, not noticing a woman on the far balcony of the inn eyeing me up. A few hours later, outside as I wandered the streets, a man named Mark Haynes waves and catches my attention, and he says,
"Hey, there's a girl in the inn asking about you. Her name's Larissa. I don't think she knows you, but she said she needed your help. She sounded really desperate."
My eye runs past Haynes to the battle ongoing outside the keep, but, well, I feel compelled to help those in need, especially when they ask for me specifically. I accept and turn back to the inn, climbing the now familiar stairs and noticing the woman near the edge of the balcony. It's overlooking the sea, seagulls wailing as ships come sailing in and out of port. The woman is hooded, looking up at me with eyes piercing the shadow of the cloth. She greets me as I approach, cautious even though she asked for my aid.
Thank you for coming to see me. I didn't know who else to contact. I recently received word from William Allerton, a family friend, that my brother enlisted here in Valiant's Keep on the same day he did. Thing is, my brother's been dead for years. I sold everything I owned to come looking for Thessarian, only to be stonewalled by the local bureaucracy. I've even been threatened with arrest if I keep snooping around. I need someone in the good graces of the higher-ups. Someone like you. If you can help me, I heard that William's stationed at the Farshire mine.
Intrigued by the mystery, I decide to help Larissa. There's still something to this that runs rotten, so I bid her farewell and make my way to Farshire, right outside of the keep. The town is having its own trouble with the Scourge, and I do my best to help before eventually making my way into the mine, searching for William Allerton. The lamplit cavern is overrun with bodies, both risen and dead, and as I feared, Allerton is one of them. The corpse matches the description that Larissa gave me of William Allerton. Oddly enough, there are no bite or claw marks on him. William's neck has been cut by a sharp object. Further inspection reveals a single clue to bring to Larissa, an enlistment card bearing the name of William Allerton. Closing the corpse's eyes and whispering a small prayer, I leave the mine. Allerton's body will be given proper rest as soon as we are able to. But, for now, I head back to Larissa and tell her of the apparent murder and the clue I found on the body. She says,
You spoke to William? Ah, do you think William's death was a random killing by the Scourge? Things sure seem fishy. Something's up. We must find Thessarian, or Mr. Allerton might yet help us find my brother.
Larissa unveils a voluminous book, not unlike an army recruitment ledger. That makes sense why the book was missing earlier.
I borrowed it, okay? Let's see, does that enlistment card have a date? William saw Thessarian at the enlistment line. Their entries must be near each other. Here it is. He was assigned to Unit S. All the other military units are named after Alliance towns. Who's in the unit? Where are they deployed? We need rumors. See if the innkeepers heard anything.
I nod, heading downstairs and striking up a conversation with the innkeeper, a chap named James Deacon at the bar. But as the conversation shifts to Unit S, I fear for a moment that it might be a dead end. He says,
"Can't say I can help you, friend, but I know someone who can. The military was all that old man Colburn had. After he retired, he still clung to it like a lifeline. He knows the name of every general, unit, brigade, detachment, you name it. He's the man you need. Problem is, his mind is scarred. He won't talk to anyone unless he gets his Kultiris wine. Takes him back to when he was a Marine. I haven't received a shipment in months. The last merchant ship out of Kultiris sunk northeast of here. See if you can salvage a bottle to bring to Colburn.
Ah, I know that sort of pain all too well. I slip the innkeeper a gold for his trouble and head out to the bay, already shivering at the idea of slipping into the frigid sea. I try to make quick work of it. The last thing I need is to die of hypothermia in some sunken Kultiran ship. Though, I'd love to see those shores someday. Regardless, I emerge from the sea, bottle in hand, and head back into the inn to warm my hands at the hearth. Colburn is here too, and part of me feels bad for offering him another drink. The man's already deep in his cups, but he's the only one here who can tell me what I need to know. The old man looks up at me with a blank look on his face.
Not too bitter, not too dry. It's just like the old days with my lads at the barracks. Unit S. Unit S. Don't make any sense. It ought to be named after a town. Darkshire was sent to Dragonflight. The Goldshire boys was sent to the fjord. Where did I hear? Oh, yes. The deserter. There's a turntail in the barracks prison. Got thrown in not too long ago. Kept saying the S stood for suicide. Look for the deserter. He might have some information for you.
I nod at the man as he pours himself another tall glass from the wine I collected, standing to head to the fort's prison. The guards know me by this point, thankfully, and just give me words of recognition as I head inside, finding this disgraced private brow behind bars. 2 guards flank him, keeping a wary eye as I enter to speak to him. He says,
What do you want? I have enough problems as it is. Listen, no offense, but the operation they put the Thessarian in charge of was pure suicide. A handful of our men were to launch an attack on the biggest Scourge presence in the area. Call me crazy, but storming a Scourge ziggurat outside of a plagued Nerubian city with a dozen men ain't my idea of fun. If you're still interested in finding Thessarian, we were supposed to arrange for passage east with the Tuskar named Ataika in Kaskala to the northeast. Good luck with your fool's errand.
I won't lie, part of me has to agree with Brow. I don't agree with his desertion, but I understand it. Heading to the stables, I borrow a griffin in hopes of reaching this Ataika as soon as I can. The journey is swift, thankfully, the wings of this beast carrying me over many of the battles that scar this land. But as I arrive in Kaskala, it seems that even this village cannot be spared from war. Near the mouth of the village, I meet this Ataika, who says,
I remember the man you speak of. He bore the marks of Karkut. May Karkut protect our fallen. Man you seek went far to the east, to a place near the coast called Death Strand, beyond Unupe. Be careful if you go in search of him. He bore the mark of Karkut, he who watches over the dead.
Sadly, my current quest is urgent, but I promise Ataika that I will return to help his own battles soon. But for now, I take off again, flying low over the fields of basalt pillars in the direction the Tuskar pointed me. It doesn't take long for the Scourge ziggurat the deserter spoke of to catch my attention. It looms over the land, oppressive in its vigil. We have to take care of that as soon as possible. It doesn't take too long until I spot the light of a campfire nestled between 2 tents on the Death Strand, in an alcove hidden from view from the Scourge presence in the area. I make my way in, landing to see 2 Alliance soldiers ready to fight any undead that make their way to the camp. They stand prepared, but surely exhausted. I'm unsure if they've slept in days. As I make my way to the men, something catches my attention out of the corner of my eye. My heart skips a beat. A death charger stands restless near the camp, raw meat from some fresh kill laid out as a meal. My divine senses scream at me that something is not right. I walk up to one of the soldiers, Corporal Vin, asking about Thessarian, and he says,
Thessarian? Yeah, he was here. What of it? We may have more pressing problems right now, my friend. Our situation is nearly hopeless. We were ordered to take the Wailing Ziggurat with a handful of men. We'll be lucky if we can hold this position against the Scourge. We're outnumbered, injured, and have no escape route. If you can take some pressure off of us, we might be able to solidify our position. Kill some of the undead circling the structure. We'll hold off their advance.
Now, this will be easy enough work. I was trained for just these occasions. So I trek out into the snow and bring the light's justice down upon these unnatural undead. Once I have returned enough of them to the dirt and snow to ease the burden of these soldiers, I return to the camp. It should buy us some time. We'll hope against hope for reinforcements from Valiant's Keep. Well, you helped us out, so I figure it's only fair that we help you out as well. You're looking for Thessarian? He disappeared this morning. We think he went off north to the Wailing Ziggurat. If we hadn't fought side by side with him, we'd even think he was a traitor. See, he's a Death Knight, and I know they're on our side and all, but it wasn't too long ago they were servants of Arthas. But not Thessarian. He's a good guy. Go to the Wailing Ziggurat. See if he's doing okay. I figured as much. Yeah, Thessarian is a Death Knight, but these are good people. Good men. I trust their judgment, so if they trust Thessarian, I'll put aside my biases and trust him as well. Bidding the men good luck, I depart to the Wailing Ziggurat in search of Thessarian, but I don't have to go far. From just inside the cursed structure, I hear screams that have the Ziggurat live up to its name. Wails of pain and desperate cultists running for their lives. Marching up the stairs and inside its main chamber, I see the corpses of dozens of cultists strewn about. A man I can only assume to be Thessarian has a lich trapped under some sort of containment spell, as his undead thrall keeps an eye on what must be the leader of this sect of cultists. He commands,
"Speak, Lich. Undeath won't save you from what I'll put you through."
Before I can speak to him, his minion intimidates the cultist.
"You worship death, little man? Death is here."
"Mercy! You were with us once. Do you not remember?"
Announcing my presence with a clearing of my throat, I approach Thessarian and tell him of my quest to find him. He says,
"Larissa is looking for me? You must help me. We must finish this before she gets hurt. No time for small talk. I was on what was to be a suicide mission to this ziggurat. I've accomplished my duty as a soldier. Now is the time to get some answers. This Lich has knowledge I seek, yet I cannot inflict pain on his physical body to obtain that knowledge. The Lich stored his soul in a phylactery, and while it remains hidden, I won't be able to pry the information from him. Return to the camp and take my horse, Dusk. She will lead you to the phylactery. Bring it to me."
The texts at the chapels in Northshire that I trained in spoke of these dark magics. With that phylactery in hand, we would basically have complete control over this Lich. Nodding in acknowledgement to the Death Knight, I departed, heading back to Camp S. The soldiers seemed surprised to see me again, and so soon. Something tells me they were half expecting me to die trying to find Thessarian. With caution, I approach Dusk. The beast is intimidating, a steed worthy of a warrior. I whisper that its master has need of it to find the phylactery, and it lowers its head and body, allowing for me to climb aboard it. I hesitate. There is almost a certain shame to be riding this harbinger of undeath, but we are on the same side. With easy confidence, it gallops through the snow, past mammoths and critters, until it sets me down next to a hole in a frozen lake just south of the ziggurat. I stare at the water, kneeling down at the frigid pool, glancing at Dusk to make sure it's the right place. I get no reaction. Of course it's the right place. Staring a bit longer, I see vague outlines of dark shapes near the bottom. That is surely what I'm searching for. Why is it that I've had to swim in 2 frozen bodies of water for this quest? It's just so uncomfortable. Deciding to just get it done with, I hold my breath and march into the pool. Cool liquid cuts through my armor, a frozen dagger that nearly causes me to lose that precious breath. Swimming down to the bottom of the lake, various bits of debris cover the lake bed. Mugs and bottles, the bones of beasts long dead, and a pristine jeweled jar. That must be the phylactery, cursed to remain forever immaculate. I reach down to pull it from the silt, but I am no longer alone, a shade rising from the dirt and almost grabbing my hand to pull me further down. I pull back just in time as 3 skeletons burst from the lake bed and attack me as well. My reflexes kick in, summoning a hammer of light to strike down these foes. I fear that if I had not been so quick, I may have joined these drowned guardians as a 4th protector of this cursed artifact. I kick back up to the surface, frigid air and frozen wind slashing at my face. But there is no time to dally. Thessarian needs this phylactery before he loses grip of the Lich. Making my way back to him, he says,
You're back. Did you get the phylactery? Just in time. Pinning down a Lich is not as easy as it looks. Now that we have the phylactery, I shouldn't have any problems getting the information I need. It won't take long for the Scourge in the Temple City to notice something's up, however. I won't be able to fend off a full-scale attack here. Or maybe I would, but I'd rather not find out. I want you to head down there and inflict some casualties. Hopefully they'll be distracted long enough for these two to spill their guts. Figuratively, of course. Take Lurid with you. He might be of some aid.
Again, this is what I trained for, and I'd be lying if I said I weren't good at it. I ride for Kala and lay waste to their defenses, putting as big a dent as I can into their focus as I let Thessarian work. Yet, I don't want to bring down the wrath of the entire city. Not quite yet, so after the sun moves a bit further overhead and a few dozen undead lay fallen at my feet, I make my way back for the Death Knight. He says,
That should buy us some time. Isidorus has been cooperative, but I really need that time alone with the Lich. The Lich has spoken. The High Priests of Kala hold the secrets to entering Nexanar. Go to the Spire of Blood, the Spire of Pain, and the Spire of Decay and slay each of the priests. Return once you've obtained the 3 scrolls.
I spare a glance at the Lich. If one could see fear where eyes used to be, it would be painted all over its face. Nodding to Thessarian, I head back to the undead city, blade drawn as I am happy that I cleaved down so many of its defenders earlier. Even still, I do my best to remain inconspicuous, dashing between buildings so as to not bring the entire weight of this army down upon me. This is not my first rodeo. Undead are my favorite enemies, and these so-called high priests fall one by one. I pack their blood-stained scrolls into my bag and return to Thessarian. He says,
Taking your time, aren't you? I don't know how much longer I can keep this Lich restrained. Excellent work. Now for one last bit of information. I served Arthas in death because I had no choice. He had control over my will and my body. The cult of the damned serves Arthas in life, willingly. Now that we know the words of power to enter Nexanar, we can put an end to this cultist light. Go to Kala and look for the teleportation orb beneath the floating citadel. Work your way up and meet me at the top. Arm yourself with what courage you can. We might not make it out of this alive.
I nod to the man, wishing him good luck as we briefly part ways. I climb aboard my griffin and fly to the floating ziggurat, meeting Thessarian at the zenith.
This is where the cultists' orders are coming from. Their leader is bound to show up soon. Let's not miss the opportunity.
Let's do this, Thessarian. It's now or never. We march to the center of the platform as a shade of the Lich King shimmers into form, and across from him... Wait, Counselor Talbot? From Valiant's Keep? He's the ringleader of this? He touches a necklace that he wears, clearly a glamour as his disguise drops. An elf stands in his place, Prince Valinar.
My liege, the infiltration and control of the Alliance power structure by our cultists is well underway.
Suddenly, Larissa and General Arlos appear on the platform, movements stiff as if puppeteered by invisible strings. Their eyes are glazed over, staring sightlessly into the middle distance.
The power you've bestowed upon me has granted me great mental influence over human minds. I bear these offerings as proof of my progress.
Larissa! What have you done to my sister? You motherless elf scum!
Now this is a surprise, Thessarian. I hadn't heard from Mograine or the other Death Knights for months. You've come to rejoin the Scourge, I take it.
I would sooner slit my own throat. You would pay for what you did to your old men, Arthas. For what you did to me! I swear it!
Allow me to take care of the intruders, Lord. I will feed their entrails to the maggots.
Do not fail me, Sanlane. Return to Ice Crown with this fool's head, or do not bother to return.
Yes, my lord.
Thessarian jumps into the fray, and I join him. We cannot let Valinar win. Between the two of us, we bring our heavy blades down upon his chest, cleaving him in twain. As Valinar's pieces fall to the stone platform, the strings controlling Larissa and General Arlos seem to cut.
Thessarian, you're alive!
My head won't stop spinning.
Larissa, you're all right.
I thought you were dead.
I cannot return home with you just yet, Larissa. I am not quite done with this scourge.
Don't leave me again. You want to fight for your country, but they don't even want you. They sent you here to die.
You might be right, sister. My obligations to my land and king have been fulfilled. But there is something that I still owe to myself.
I know that look in your eye. I'm not going to be able to talk you out of this. If you die on me again...
Do not worry, Larissa. I will come back to you when I am done. Nothing in the world will stop me from coming home to the only family that I have left.
As the siblings make their peace, I cautiously walk up to Thessarian. He looks up at me, happy tears in his eyes, saying,
You did well. I was hoping to leave my sister out of all of this. Thanks to you, she is alive and well. My obligations to my king and my army have been fulfilled. It is clear I am not welcome among my comrades anymore. I will have to find my own way, fighting no wars but my own and following no orders but my heart's. Perhaps we shall meet again. Until then, take this as a token of my gratitude.
He hands me one of his weapons. It's well weighted. I smile, taking it and adding it to my own arsenal. I turn from the siblings, allowing them their moment, mounting and flying off into the sunset, off to my next adventure. Wrath of the Lich King had plenty of excellent quests, but there are even more from the entire lifetime of World of Warcraft. If you'd like to hear about the game's creepiest quest, check out my video talking about the Legend of Stalvin. Or maybe you want to hear its most tragic tale, so check out my video talking about the tragedy of Morladam. As always, thank you so much for watching, and until next time.